Hello, hello. I figured I'd do a quick amendment episode and start it off by showing you this nice little picture. It's dirty, it's dusty, it's been around for a while, but it's very valuable to me, and I figured I'd at least get it on the camera, just like my cast, just like my stories, so that they can be recorded and I can free up some space up here. So, amendment. I was thinking on it, and I mentioned the Kiwi Farms user Forgetful Jin and his story. Well, I mentioned that the poll for whether he should be kicked off or not was taking place in a part where normal members couldn't access. I got to clarify that that was a paid section, a $20 barred entry toll to get into that part of the website. So it isn't just a part of the website, because there's two. There's one part of the website that you can access after, I guess, 6 months or so being active. And there's another part of the website that you can only access if you pay. And I was there on my other account, on my older account, after paying about $100 overall, not counting merchandise, which is, fair trade, but just donations. And I didn't see anything of value in there whatsoever. In fact, it's incredibly closed and boring, and it's probably the worst part of the website. In fact, that part I was talking about before, where you unlock it when you're there for 6 months, is the actual good secret part of the website. It's not the paid for section. However, that was exactly where you could pay to play in Noel's ignoble polls. So, and I say that remembering that it's actually worse on him than I remember, but, I say that with love in my heart. And if I see you in the street, I'm going to slap the shit out of you. No, not really. But, yeah. It is what it is, man. I was thinking, like, is that really all there is in that story? No, there's some deeper stuff there. Like the fact that it is... like the fact that he had gotten into an argument with Noel a month prior to this. That is a very important part about this. Now, I'm gonna, drop this soon, but it just hit me, why that all started. Because he got into an argument with Noel. And Noel found his little manipulative ways to set it up as if it was the community, when it was very closed off and controlled every part of the way. And it just makes me wonder whatever happened to really good members like Cat Party, whatever happened to the most productive thread writers like Zedkist, whatever happened to the best moderators like HK47. My guess is they saw this shit and they left. And now I know Cat Party had a marriage and had a life starting, and he was a very responsible person. I almost went to his wedding, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't at this point, because naturally I didn't know him very much and that would have been very awkward. But I almost got invited by his wife, who is a very, very sweet person, probably the single sweetest person on the entire website. So I miss them, but it is what it is. I wish him well. So that weed eater judge that got that guy killed up in Kentucky? Well, that turns out to be a little bit more complicated than we once thought. You see, there was a part of the call from dispatch that was leaked, and it turns out this guy's got all sorts of little conspiracies going on with the cops, where he's using them as foot soldiers for his BS, and doesn't care that people are getting killed or hurt, and wants to lock people up for 10 years for petty shit, and wants to violate people's rights and stuff like that. But that's the bare minimum, to the intense level of incompetence that was exercised on multiple different parts of this. And there are probably police officers in Kentucky, Bowling Green, I think it was, that are mortified at this, because the farther north you go up in the country, the nicer the police are. I can tell you this for experienced fact, that the police in North Dakota and Minnesota are super nice. There was only one that I ran into that gave me any little bit of problem. It's because he put out the water that I was the fire that I was camping with my water that I was camping with out by the Red River. And it's because I had left it unattended, perfectly reasonable. Although he had a big, he had a big gun with him when he was exploring the woods there. I'm not exactly sure who called him out and why he was there, but he was super chill. And he wasn't like flexing and throwing his weight around like you see a lot of, more populated areas. And especially down south where temperaments are so hot, that infects the police officers real bad. And it's rough, it really is rough. It's going to get hotter and hotter, especially during this solar maximum. You see there are like 30 to 60 year solar cycles where it goes up and then it goes down. And we are literally, as I've explained before, hitting a maximum. That's why Greenland is on the table for mining, despite the fact that it's incredibly cold. And they want Canada, which I really hope genuinely, I really hope that Canada just says nah. And it looks like the new leader of Canada is retarded cuck. I think that's the best way of putting that. So that upsets me a little bit. We might see massive destruction of protected Canadian ecosystem, but at least Brazil has gotten their shit under control with Lula. He's not going to do what Bolsonaro, that sick, crazy, pedophile, pervert bastard Bolsonaro wanted to do, who gets sick with a new disease like every couple of months. He wanted to burn down all the Amazon so he could move in cattle that aren't native to that'll end up having miserable lives, just like the Longhorns that were brought into America originally. Longhorn Steakhouse is shit. Longhorn Steakhouse is one of the worst places you could eat, period. You want to chew on some old boot leather for forever because the cattle that you're eating are fucking miserable? Go to Longhorn Steakhouse. And I love to flex about being like crypto Satanists on the side, and just like, nah, you're fucking pussies, actually. you ain't up there about esotericism. You're just fat, lazy pussies descended from the fat, lazy pussies that came over here and just fucking hired a bunch of people to kill the natives and take their shit. As simple as that, Speaking of which, Eric Prince's idea to flood Gaza with seawater was pretty damn funny, given the fact that the IDF center is 6 stories underground and water goes underground and what goes down, That would have been interesting if the United States had authorized that. Now, Eric Prince is the CEO of Blackwater, or at least he's the commander of Blackwater paramilitary group. So they're the ones who did a lot of tremendous amount of the dirty work in the Middle East. So if they, they're upset with Israel, well, if they want to salt the earth, if they want to turn it into unarable land, Lord only knows what their enemies feel about them, because that's their friends. With friends like those, who needs enemies? Remember Elijah McClellan, a young boy who played violin for animals at the shelter, who was killed by police officers while begging for his life. Remember Gregory Edwards, the the combat veteran who was murdered by Sheriff Wayne Ivey in my backyard by gassing and suffocating him with mace and a spit mask and strapping him up and preventing him from being able to move. Remember Uvalde. Now, I'm seeing a little bit of consequences coming down the pipe from that, but remember Uvalde. Never forget Uvalde. Never forget that there are police officers that were hired that could actually take orders like that. Never forget that the people in charge wanted children to die on that day. They wanted it. They wanted to exacerbate it. They were arresting parents for trying to charge in and help the situation. And it's entirely possible that the Border Patrol agents were able to pierce the line because they had a higher authority, or the lesser percentage that it was literally set up and didn't go off the way that they had expected. Now, I'm not a big, proponent of suggesting that there's more fire than there is smoke. It's already an incredible amount of evil and incompetence, so I won't even, suggest more than that. But remember Uvalde. And remember that controlled burns are necessary for preventing enormous fires. That's something that LA is learning the hard way right now. January 10th already. What's next? January 11th. Frick everything. LA's learning the hard way, and I've seen people who are just like, I don't have to go silent for a while. My home burned down. It's very sad. And the millions of gallons of water are missing, and millions of dollars in firefighter funds were redirected so that they could have more FOP money and more military surplus. And that's exactly where the argument to defund the police comes from. That's exactly where people fall for BLM arguments and get sucked into that political orbit and have their entire energies drained a la Obama. But, not everything's bad. The American Legion, they're out there trying to protect Boy Scouts. They tried to prevent the Serbia bombing. They've been doing some good stuff. They've been trying to, keep religious rights up and at them. And also, in 1963, there were just 410 bald eagles. Now there are over 300,000. We can do what we set our minds to. We can do it. Americans aren't weak. And that attitude that Vivek is putting forward is either trying to push people into being more productive, which would make him more profit, or he's just parroting some shit the people around him are saying, And they're disconnected, floating out in the cloud city. They don't see what's down here. They consider themselves Eloys and us Morlocks. Well, that's not the case, buddy. Any one of us could be any one of them. Any one of them could be any one of us. So, stay focused. Keep your mind in your goals and make those goals reasonable. And don't get caught up in petty drama, because it just gets worse and worse. It just makes your stomach sink farther and farther down. And you need all that. You need your stomach and your solar plexus. And you need to have your voice loud and in charge of yourself. And you need to have your mind focused. That's what you need. It's genuinely what you need. So, addendum. Figured I'd put it out. Have a good one, y'all.